I decided to build a PC that's basically dedicated to Fortnite. And no, this isn't going to be some maxed out overkill monster build like I usually do. This time I'm sticking to Fortnite's own recommended specs. I'm literally building what they say you should run. But the big question is it actually enough to play smoothly, without any annoying issues? Stay to the end of the video, and we'll find out. Before I buy any parts, I'm going straight to the publisher's official page to see what they recommend, and as you can see, they list a Core i5 7300U and a Ryzen 3 3300U, which is kinda wild because both of those are laptop CPUs. So if we want a desktop that matches the recommendation, we need a desktop chip with similar performance. After a bunch of digging, I landed on a surprisingly good match. So I'm choosing a 500GB SATA. Here's why. The i5 7300U is a 15-watt chip, so it can get held back by heat and power limits. But the G4560 is a 54-watt desktop CPU, meaning it can hold its clocks way more consistently. And in real-world gaming, that often translates to similar performance, but sometimes even better. It's a 2-core, 4-thread CPU clocked at 3.5 GHz, and it launched around the same time, back in Q1 2017. On paper, it might be a hair behind the i5 7300U, but not enough to matter for this build. And the best part? It's easy to find. You can grab one on eBay for cheap. I paid $7 for mine. Next up is RAM. Fortnite recommends 16 gigabytes. And to get the best performance possible, I'm going with two 8GB sticks to run in dual channel. Now, as you probably know, RAM prices are still pretty high right now. So to keep costs down, I'm sticking with non-RGB, no heatsink RAM. Nothing fancy, just value. I picked up two 8GB sticks of G-Skill 3200 MHz for $71. If you bid, you might get them cheaper, but you'll be fighting like 100 other people. I'm also going to throw in 32 gigabytes later just to test and see if there's actually any real performance difference. Moving on to the GPU, I had two options here. The GTX 960 or the AMDR 9280. I'm leaning toward the GTX 960 because it strikes a really nice balance between performance and stability. It can handle Fortnite at 1080p just fine, while pulling only about 120 watts, which means it runs cooler and uses less power. The R9280, on the other hand, sits closer to 200 watts. It draws a lot more power, runs hotter, and the performance gain just isn't big enough to justify that trade-off. On top of that, NVIDIA drivers tend to be a bit more forgiving across a wide range of games. So the overall experience is usually smoother with fewer random issues. I managed to grab an MSI GTX 964GB on eBay for just $35, which is honestly a steal. Next up is storage. Fortnite recommends an NVMe SSD, and since I only need it for Windows and Fortnite, 500 gigabytes is more than enough. The unit I'm using here is the Corsair C. I usually stick with Samsung because of their reliability, long-term durability, and consistent performance. I picked this one up on eBay for $56. As for the rest of the parts, I just chose what makes the most sense for this build. For the motherboard, since the G4560 uses LGA1151, I went with an H110 board. It's a basic entry-level chipset and very affordable. H110 is discontinued at this point, but there are still plenty available on eBay. I bought a Gigabyte H110 board for $41. You could go with a B250 or Z270, but those will cost a bit more. In return, you do get better upgrade options and more connectivity, so it depends on your budget. For CPU cooling, I'm keeping it simple. I'm using a dual heat pipe air cooler. The G4560 runs cool and doesn't draw much power, so this is more than enough. Don't buy a brand new Ryzen 3 4100. And I paid just $13 for it. Alright, let's talk power supply. For this system, I'm aiming for around 600 watts. Now, realistically, with this build, 400 watts would be fine, but the PSU I'm using is used, so I'm giving myself a little extra headroom just to keep everything running stable and avoid any random power issues. The unit I picked is a Cooler Master 700 watts, and I paid $36 for it. If you're buying a brand new power supply though, honestly 450 to 500 watts is all you need. Next up is the case. I'm throwing all of this into a Canoe Mini ITX case, small, compact, and perfect for a budget build. And I'm also adding a rear exhaust fan, so hot air can escape more easily when we're gaming. I grabbed this case on eBay for $15. And now we're getting into the build. CPU into the motherboard first, then RAM, then storage. But we've got a problem. This motherboard doesn't support M2, and yeah, I totally didn't notice that before I bought it. Pretty stupid mistake on my part. So instead, I'm switching to a 500GB SATA SSD, also from Samsung. It's used, but it's still a solid drive. I picked it up for $38. And the good news is, when it comes to actual gaming performance, NVMe versus SATA usually doesn't change much. You're not really gaining FPS. The main difference is load times, how fast Windows boots, how quickly the game launches, and how fast you get into matches. That's where NVMe has the advantage. Total cost for this build came out to $256, and now it's time for the performance testing. Epic doesn't really explain how they test their recommended specs. So in this video, I'm doing what matters most, real gameplay, to see if this setup actually holds up. First up, performance mode at 1080p. This mode is all about maximizing FPS, especially on lower end systems. Here I was getting around 110 to 120 FPS, pretty stable, with almost no big drops. But there is one thing to note. To hold that FPS, the CPU was basically pinned near 100%, and the GPU load wasn't perfectly consistent either. Next, I switched to performance mode at 1440p. FPS dropped to about 80 to 90, but it stayed stable, even in fights. Overall, performance mode is still very smooth on this build. Now let's move to the DirectX 11. Low settings, 1080p. FPS stayed above 90, but the GPU had to work pretty hard, around 90% usage. And during gunfights, I did notice a few small dips. So DX11 works, but it doesn't feel perfectly even or fully buttery smooth. When I pushed DX11 up to medium, that's where it clearly started struggling. Drops became much more frequent, FPS hovered around 50, and the gameplay felt choppy and annoying. Bottom line, this build can't comfortably handle DX11 medium. And the biggest surprise here was DirectX 12. At DX12/low/1080p, everything was more stable than I expected. FPS was usually 70 to 80, and in heavier moments it dipped to around 65, but it didn't have those harsh stutters or sudden drops like before. I bumped it to DX12 medium, and FPS stayed a little above 50. But the experience was smooth and consistent, no obvious drops, no weird spikes. Overall, this build runs DX12 pretty well. On DX12 high, FPS was around 30. And honestly, if you're okay with 30 FPS, it's still playable, and it feels way more stable than DX11 medium. After that, I tested 1440p/low on DX12, and FPS stayed above 40. For 1440p, I'd say this system actually did a solid job, and it still felt stable. I also upgraded the RAM to 32GB just to test it, but the results barely changed. For Fortnite, 16GB is enough. Across all the tests, the biggest bottleneck was still the CPU. It was near 100% usage almost the entire time. Performance mode runs great. DX11 is the least stable option, and DX12 runs better overall because it pushes more of the workload onto the GPU, taking pressure off the CPU. So if you're planning to build exactly around these recommended specs, my advice is simple. Step up to a slightly stronger CPU for a smoother experience across every mode. And that's it for today's video. If this helped, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel.